Long before Columbus set sail, before the cross, before the gun, before the word slave was ever tied to skin color, slavery was already here, but not the kind you're thinking of. There were no ships crossing oceans, no auction blocks, no cotton fields, but there was power, there was conquest, and there was control. In the towering Andes, the Inca built an empire without money. They taxed labor. They moved entire populations like chess pieces. In the Valley of Mexico, the Aztec made blood sacred and sacrificed war captives to feed their gods. These were not primitive tribes. They were empires, sophisticated, strategic, and yes, they practiced slavery, their own way, their own rules, their own reasons. And when the Europeans came, they didn't invent slavery, they industrialized it. We're taught that indigenous peoples were peaceful, or passive, or simply victims. But the truth is far more complex. The Inca, the Aztec. These were imperial civilizations with systems of labor, tribute, and control. They didn't borrow these ideas from the old world. They built them, refined them, enforced them. This is the untold story of native slavery before the colonizers came. At its height, the Inca Empire stretched over 2,500 miles across jagged peaks, deserts, and cloud forests. How did they rule such a vast, harsh landscape? They taxed time. Under the system called mita, every able-bodied man was required to give part of his year to the state. You didn't pay with coin, you paid with your body. You might be sent to quarry stones for a temple, to build the Capac Ñan, the massive royal road system, to serve in the army, to work in the state's fields, or to mine silver from deep, suffocating shafts. This wasn't a one-time service. It was generational, cyclical, unrelenting. And though you returned to your village year after year, your life was never fully your own. The Mita system helped keep the empire fed, connected, strong. But it was also coercive. You didn't get to say no. You couldn't opt out. Refusal could mean punishment, displacement, or worse. And for the conquered, the Inca had a second strategy, mitmakuna, forced resettlement. Entire villages would be uprooted and scattered across the empire. Why? To weaken resistance, to erase rebellion, to break cultural identity. You'd be surrounded by strangers, monitored by officials, expected to assimilate. A whole nation was engineered around loyalty, not through love, but through structure, obligation, and fear. Meanwhile, in central Mexico, another empire flourished, the Aztec, rulers of a vast domain and builders of one of the most astonishing cities in the ancient world, Tenochtitlan. Here, slavery was not hidden. It was a vital part of the economy. Slaves, called tlacotin, could be found everywhere, in markets, in homes, in fields. Aztec slavery was complex, even fluid. A man might sell himself to escape debt, to support his family, to survive a drought or famine. A criminal could be sentenced to slavery. A disobedient child might be sold by their parents, temporarily or for life. But Tlacotin weren't property in the way Europeans would later define it. They had rights, they could marry, they could own property, they could even own other slaves. And most remarkably, they could buy their freedom. Some slaves became wealthier than free men. But there was a darker side. The Aztec didn't just enslave for economics. They did it for religion. Their gods were thirsty, and war captives were the sacrifice. These weren't tlacotin. They weren't allowed rights. They were bound for the top of the Templo Mayor, where their hearts would be torn from their chests as the city watched. It wasn't labor, it was ritual death. This was a society where the sacred and the brutal lived side by side. The Inca ruled through organization, calculated and cold. The Aztec ruled through fear and spectacle, loud, lavish, and bloody. But both civilizations used human control to fuel their empires. In the Andes, labor was currency. In the Valley of Mexico, bodies were offerings. These weren't systems built on race. Slavery here wasn't about skin. It was about conquest, class, and cosmic order. But when the Spanish arrived, they didn't end these systems. They twisted them. They saw the mitad and turned it into a death sentence in the silver mines of Potosi. They saw the Tlacotin and replaced them with chattel slavery, stripping all rights, all humanity, branding, whipping, selling, exporting. The colonizers didn't bring slavery to the Americas. They made it industrial, permanent, and racial. We're told that indigenous peoples were peaceful, passive, or helpless victims of history. But the truth is more complicated, more human. The Inca and Aztec were empires, and like all empires, they had tools of power. Slavery was one of them. It wasn't the slavery we've been taught, but it was real. And when we strip native civilizations of their complexity, we strip them of their humanity. We owe it to the ancestors to tell the full story, not just the parts that make us comfortable. Slavery existed here before 1492, but so did art, innovation, genius, greatness. Let's remember all of it. If this video opened your eyes, if you believe indigenous stories deserve depth, truth, and respect, if you're ready to challenge the colonial version of history, then this is the place. Like, share, subscribe to Native Historian. Let's bring the buried truths to light. Let's take history back. Because the real story of America, it didn't begin in 1492. It began long before that, and it's still being written. Stay curious.